We are on episode six, I can't talk now, of Transcending Humanity, and welcome back to our podcast.
Welcome.
It's so exciting, and I am Lisa Magnuson. I am an ally to the community, and I will let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
I'm Vanessa. You know me. I'm just your favorite Vanessa.
And I'm Rylie. I'm the same Rylie from last week. I just have a little bit of shiny overhead since I cut my hair.
He's cute. I'm trying to point down at you, but my camera's all reversed.
All right. So our episode this week is about etiquette. Do's and don'ts. And this is important. And as an ally, I will honestly say, and I'll throw myself into the bus, it took me a little while to get used to what is okay and what's not okay.
Yeah.
Our first topic, and to me, it's the perfect topic because we had this situation come up between Vanessa and me. But if you know someone who has changed their name, don't ask them what their dead name is, and that a dead name is the name that they no longer use.
Mm-hmm.
And Vanessa, can I say what transpired between us?
That's fine.
Okay.
There's no secrets here.
Well, good. We are self-funded. So, and our wonderful producer, Vanessa, is the one who takes care of things. And so I sent her some funds to help keep the funding going. And all of a sudden I get this notification. Are you sure you want to send money to, may I use your dead name? Jeremy. And I was very shocked. So I messaged her and said, hey, this is what I'm getting. Is this okay?
And I'm like, yeah.
And so but it's one of those things where I always feel I wanted permission, number one, to make sure that name was her dead name, because I didn't want it going to some oddball Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to make sure Vanessa got the money. So, I mean, don't just automatically ask.
Yeah.
I did mine out of courtesy and, hey, I need to make sure this is going to the right
person. And I'm glad you did. You're going about it the right way. And to say something about, to kind of do an introduction to etiquette, most trans people don't know the etiquette either. So it's not just allies that are learning. We're all learning too, especially us that are freshly cracked, or I guess newly cracked, whatever. So I'm hoping this episode is going to be educational for everybody. And Tamsyn joined us. Hi, Tamsyn.
Tamsyn.
Good evening. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good.
And that was a generic guys, by the way.
Yeah. Oh. It's a y'all kind of thing. So
it is.
Exactly.
I always laugh when people say, oh, how do we do this? And I said, just say y'all.
Yeah.
That means it's everybody. That's inclusive.
It's very inclusive.
Even if it is from the South.
Yeah, but we can reclaim it just like everything else. We just have to reclaim it again.
That's right.
Reclaim.
Y'all means all.
That's right. And all y'all means everybody.
Or y'allins. No.
Y'allins. All right. Does anybody else have anything about being asked for dead names?
In the job search, it happens a lot.
Yeah.
You can relate, Vanessa.
Yeah, I don't have to worry anymore because I've full on legally changed my name. But previously, though, I have noticed a lot of things, and a shout out to a lot of companies. A lot of the applications, they ask for your legal name because you need that for employment, but they say, do you have a name you prefer to use? So yeah, and it's welcome when I see that. So
though I will say it's sometimes concerning when I see preferred pronouns, but not, hey, do you have a preferred name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really,
they
need to drop the word preferred anyways, but especially when it comes to pronouns, but that's another story.
That is another story for another day.
And the other thing I've noticed on some of the applications it's not just Dr., Mr., Mrs., Ms., Miss, but they have like the MX or I can't remember all of them, but it was very refreshing to see it because it's like, hey, these companies are trying, at least on their application side. Hopefully their productive side is also trying.
We can only hope.
All right. Well, pictures from before. Don't ask for them.
Yeah.
If your friend or your family is wanting to share it with you, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But don't sit and ask for them.
No, for some people, it's very triggering to look at photos from the past. Other people, it's validating because you'll see a lot of transition Tuesdays. I do a lot of them too. So you'll see previous me with the full beard and then now. But I'm sure for some people, they don't want to be reminded of that.
Or some people don't have them.
That works
Because-
too.
We didn't want to be in pictures much.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very, very good point. Like I was always behind the camera. I never took selfies. So it's a very good point, Tamsyn.
Like I started looking and I'm like, pre-transition, probably the 10 years pre-transition, I probably have half a dozen or a dozen pictures with me in it. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just wasn't something I wanted to do.
Yeah. And now we know why.
Right. I mean, you were still discovering yourself, correct?
I was.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, this is where it's always funny when I have to say this. Common sense,
Isn't common.
isn't common. But when you're supporting your friends, your family, or what I like to call on our Discord, family, it makes sense not to do things.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm going to, send a private message and say, hey, I feel stupid, even though I know I'm not, but how would I address this situation? And ask somebody. Don't automatically assume you know how to, handle that situation. And pictures would be one that, but the only reason I know about Transitioning Tuesday is really because of Vanessa.
Oh, really?
And I look at her pictures from before and go, there's no way this is the same person.
That's kind of my goal.
I know.
That is the goal.
Yeah.
Oh, Lisa, you'd be floored about mine.
I can imagine.
Well, and I going from a outside view with one of my friends, her name is also Lisa. All three of her children are LGBTQ, and her youngest is 14, going through transition. And Kylo has said, take down all my baby pictures. He doesn't want them. He changed his first name, or they're in the process of changing his first name legally.
Nice.
But for, I guess, respect for his mother, he has retained his original first name as his middle name. So his first name is Kylo, his middle name is I don't even remember, because I know him as Kylo.
Yeah.
It's a really solid Star Wars name. I love that.
It is very
But-
solid.
It's differently spelled, but I told Lisa, I was like, oh my gosh, I love your kid's name.
Yeah.
And so, but I mean, you see it happening. And this is not something she's pushing on him, like so many people outside think, oh, well, if you're a parent of somebody who's claiming to be trans and you're pushing their agenda. That's not the case.
No,
So be
it's-
careful when you talk about that too.
Mm-hmm.
Agendas. That's become a 4-letter word for me.
I hate
Yeah.
that.
that whole, we don't have an agenda other than to exist as ourselves and, just be. That's it. That's
You're
my agenda.
Authentic.
Yes.
So
And unfortunately, I get to take my agenda to a state that I don't really want to go to, but it's for my job.
Ew.
So
No.
Are you
Oh,
moving?
yeah, Disney. Yeah.
you're moving?
Hmm?
Are you
What's that?
moving? Or are you just gonna have to go
no,
down?
I will be moving.
Okay.
It's okay.
I'll come visit you.
There we go. I like that.
I'm sorry.
It's all right because they're not scaring me away. I'm not going to
Good.
not take this job because of politics.
Good.
This is literally my dream job.
Oh,
Yeah.
I bet.
And
It sounds fabulous.
there's no effing way, and I clean up my language before I start one of these days, but there's no way that I would not take this job.
I'm so happy you got that. It's especially knowing that it's like your dream position, and it's especially with how quickly you're able to find it too, which is like,
That blew my mind because I was
yeah,
prepared if that went the other way to look other directions and broaden my net and go back into software engineering and things that I didn't want to do necessarily. But
I'm glad you.
I sidetracked our conversation. I'm sorry.
No, this is all important stuff, and
Yes.
I'm so proud and happy for you. It's so absolutely amazing that happened. So
And we were talking about companies. That is a company that is definitely good at this. I mean, they have room to grow, obviously, but
yeah,
the culture there is pretty damn superb.
very much so.
And I'm pleased to be landing there and being able to go make a mark and really have fun doing it.
Yeah.
The
That's
perks are
exciting.
great, but that's not the best part about this job. The best part about the job is what I get to do.
Well, I told Vanessa earlier, if you ever need a trainer, corporate trainer or something like that, let me know. Hit me up. Education training, hit me up.
Yeah, we'll be doing a lot of change management stuff over this project. So yeah, I don't know if they'll go external, but there's a lot of that's going to have to happen.
I can imagine.
I'm gonna jump around on the topics a
Okay.
little bit. Vanessa, you made the comment about eggs.
Hmm.
Explain that.
So,
This was new lingo when I read this. This was new lingo to me.
oh, okay. I see Rylie smiling.
It's kind of an insider trans thing.
Yeah. So we're pulling back the curtain a little bit for you. So before we come out, we're in our egg.
Okay.
We're wearing a shell from who we really are, and once we start realizing the holy shit I'm trans moment, which is, I'm sure you two know that exactly. Wait, so that's it. That's when your egg cracks. So and then everything starts coming in as you're clawing your way out of this egg. And but it's very important because a lot of times trans people can clock other trans people even before they come out, because we just recognize the signs that we like, things that we have in common. And it's very important to not crack someone's egg. That's one, something that they have to do on their own, and two, it could be a safety thing for them too. You always want to make sure that it's not your decision to out someone else, pretty much. So it's a discovery that they have to do by themselves.
I got that from what you wrote, but again, I had never heard that. So I learned, I'm like, yeah, I learned something today.
Yeah.
It's kind of like another analogy for like coming out of the closet, but like just I guess a little more specific to like the trans community and the way that we've kind of viewed it in a way.
I like it though, because it celebrates a beginning, birth,
Mhm.
and that's how I look at it. When somebody gets that realization and has that realization and starts learning about their true authentic self, that's a rebirth. So
Yeah.
I mean, the egg analogy makes sense. And all I could picture as you were talking about it was the scene from Jurassic Park when the velociraptor's being,
That's what I was thinking too.
I'm like, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you were talking about things coming in, and the picture of all of the doctors and everything around it. I was like,
Mhm.
wow, that's it makes sense.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
self-realization.
Yeah.
And self-realization is for everybody. And so hopefully having allies on this will make other people self-realize they're allies too.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's very, very poignant. Very poignant. Poignant. I can talk. On this topic, I had asked listeners for submissions on this episode, and our friend Loki had something that kind of fits along with it. And they said, do not under any circumstances assume someone is out if they've told you privately. Just don't. They may not be out to everyone. And as many trans creators can tell you, being out on social media is a huge challenge. It limits job opportunities, social circles, and more, while simultaneously opening up a lot of challenges. And I asked him, I said it can put people at risk, and Loki said bingo. And that's not something that people think about. It's not out of malice, but because they simply don't have the experience. So it kind of goes along with the whole egg cracking thing.
Or coming out of the closet.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Because, I
it is
mean,
our
that
story to
was-
tell.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's your story.
Mhm.
When my niece came out as gay, it was okay. And I point blank asked her, I said, who knows? So I don't open my mouth and insert my foot.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, it's common sense. It's common sense etiquette.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've already been lacking common sense.
Yeah.
I think social media has impacted that even more.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. It's good to get to the point where you don't have to worry about who knows, though.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
that's like kind of a nice place to end up. Like there's still
Oh,
people that don't know my entire backstory, but it's not a big deal if they know it anymore. It just I just am me. That's all I am.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of things,
Well, and
but
it was amazing to watch her transformation once she was more vocal about it, and once she decided to come out on social media. And I mean, it was just I could tell this huge weight was lifted off her shoulders. And so
Yeah.
I was like, okay, she's not always in a healthy headspace, but who is? But at least she's out there and she knows who she is.
Yeah.
yeah, it changes a
And
lot of things, and it reduces a lot of barriers that you self-impose on you for yourself.
Mhm.
There's a lot of things that change when you come out.
yeah, I mean, the secretiveness is what I
There's
always feel
yeah,
horrible about.
there's that. There's the need to code switch in the workplace, and like I know people that I used to work with that are LGBTQ and didn't no one at work knew for 20 years.
Wow.
So they're hiding this entire part of their identity at work. That takes an enormous amount of mental capacity
I can't imagine.
that could be used to better your career, to advance in the workplace. It's just insane. And it was me too. I was that person at one point.
Mhm.
I'm not that now. I love that I'm going into a new job fully out, fully myself.
That's amazing.
Love it. I mean, but going back to what you said, 20 years doing that code switching, I mean, that still brings me back to that story about my dad being in the military in the 50s, and these upper level officers for show married kids, but behind the scenes were
Yeah.
gay. And
Mhm.
I can't imagine the stress, and
Yeah.
having to always watch your six, so to speak.
For them,
You're
I mean,
always having to be on your guard.
back then they were facing court martial for that, most likely,
Yeah.
Yep. In the 50s, yep. 50s,
Dangerous.
60s, yes.
or
I mean,
worse.
or worse.
Um, I had a thought on this subject too. Just one of the absolute most evil things about a lot of the anti-trans legislation that's being pushed against kids right now is where they're forcing teachers and school staff in general to out trans kids to their parents. That could get kids killed. And
Mhm.
I this pro-life party my ass. It's going to cause so much damage. Yeah.
As a
And not
person,
go
I was
ahead,
gonna say,
Riley.
as a person who came out as I guess technically as a lesbian during high school, and then during my senior years when I came out as trans to my parents, actually. Um, I absolutely can relate because I both times I was absolutely terrified I was going to be thrown out. And especially when I came out as trans, I made sure I was 18. So, and I had a car. And granted, it was like a piece of crap VW, like whatever. But like it was like something that I could like sleep in if I had to. Because growing up with a military family that was very conservative, like for me, like I was terrified. And first of all, when my mom gave me the opposite answer, like reaction of what I was anticipating when I came out, like I just literally broke down sobbing. Um, but like just having that experience though, just it was terrifying knowing that like I could have literally my entire safety net ripped out from underneath me.
Mhm.
And if I hadn't been the one who had told my parents and it had been like the administration or something, it could have been a way different reaction.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you from a teacher's standpoint. Number one, I would not do that because I promised my students when I was teaching that if we had conversations and they were telling me things about their life and that they didn't want anybody to know, I wasn't going to tell anybody unless they were hurting themselves or going to hurt someone else. That was the two. No, if you're self-harming or you're thinking about suicide, etc., I'm getting someone else involved. Or if they were getting hurt.
Hmm.
And I mean, I was an outcry witness for one of my students who got raped. I can't tell you how many students I had over my years. I think it was 50 plus. Mags, I need to talk to you. So we go out to what I called my little perch because of where my classroom was. I was the only teacher on that hall. And they would come out to me. And my first question back to them, do your parents know? And the only reason I asked that is because I didn't want a phone call being bitched at that I knew and didn't say anything because that's not my place.
Hmm.
As a teacher, no, I am there to protect my students. And I had in my 15 years of public education, I did a full sub year one and then 14 actual teaching. I had about 4 kids going through transitions. Luckily, parents were very involved and very supportive. But I know I had kids when they came up to their parents who got kicked out and were sleeping in the park. And I was making sure they were eating. I was involved with the counselors trying to get them into something. But CPS, if there's parents, I'm sorry, that whole system is a
Broken.
joke when it's teenagers and them coming out.
Hmm.
I mean, I was like, and my husband was at the time, he's ex now, but my ex-husband was not helpful. He, when I told him that my niece was gay, he goes, well, we'll still love Maggie. And I went, no, you won't. You won't. I don't think they've talked since my daughter's graduation.
It's just so that's any parent that turns away from their kid for their kid coming out has failed, period, full stop, has failed as a parent. They're not a parent. It's just, oh, I'm glad hearing, Rylie, that your mom's answer surprised you. So,
Oh yeah, no.
because
And honestly, if she hadn't had her stance, it probably would have been a different story if my dad had his way. But I think she was like, no, you're gonna stop with that stupid shit right now.
but you could tell your dad, hey, at least I'm not gay anymore, right? I'm straight, technically.
I think it took him a while to like kind of realize that.
Gatekeeping. This was one that it's amazing. Uh, who would I be other than a complete witch with a B? If I were to tell somebody you're just not who you're presenting yourself to be. You dress funny, you talk funny. I mean, that's how as being trans, do you combat such a strong word, but that's exactly what it is. How do you combat that?
The gatekeeping is something that really happens. It happens a lot within the trans community. So like this whole episode etiquettes from both within and without the community. Um, and there is no one set way to be trans. Everything is valid. And sometimes it can be kind of hard to wrap your mind around that. And sometimes things will, be shocking. Sometimes you'll see a trans woman that still has a full beard. And it's deeply ingrained in some of us. That's jarring, but she's no less trans than I am. She's no more trans than I am. We just all are. But you'll have people gatekeeping. Like I had to block a woman that said that just all the things I was doing wrong with my appearance, and like that I need to do my hair differently because my forehead is too high. And I'm like, fuck you, and Rylie and Tamsyn, if you had things like that.
Well, I've personally not had too many on my side like that, but like I have actually a few like trans friends who are like disabled and their disability has prevented them from doing medical transition. So like for things like that, that doesn't invalidate their transness by any means. But like they'll never, despite wanting to have top surgery or whatever, unfortunately it's just not something that can happen for them. But they are still trans nevertheless.
Yeah, there's no wrong way to be trans. We're all unique. We all have our own journeys ahead of us and behind us that got us here. And it just unfolds differently. We make different choices along the way. And I hate that word choice, but it is that is part of it.
Yeah.
You choose whether or not to have certain surgeries or to do certain procedures or not. And it's a deeply personal thing. And we all within the community, especially, need to support each other in those things and not conflate this rigid trans prescription that some people have, that you have to have this and this in order to be trans. It's like that's not true.
Yeah.
And I was say it's kind of interesting too, because like especially when you think about like part of why I think this idea of like you have to have X, Y, and Z to be trans is because of like the government's having put all these regulations for us to be able to change our gender markers and things like that. And even at that, like you'll see stories about like especially like in the I think it was like the late 80s, even as early as the 70s, of some of these trans women who were having like some of the first bottom surgery experiences, and like some of them didn't want to actually have these surgeries, but the doctor's like, nope, this is what you have to do if you want this to happen. I've seen countless stories of that, and it's crazy to think that like if whatever her name was didn't want to actually have bottom surgery, she enjoyed her parts as what she was, but the doctor pressured her into it because, well, you're never going to be seen as a woman otherwise,
It's horrible.
whatever the case. Yeah, it's horrible.
That's like taking the Hippocratic oath and not going by it.
Right out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah.
I'm horrified.
It's the same thing
mean,
they do with intersex people, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, it's criminal what they do to intersex kids.
Oh yeah, no, I've unfortunately certain episodes of Law and Order SVU stand out, and I remember one that there were twins and one was intersex, and it was horrible. And I'm sitting here going, okay, I know these are ripped from the headlines. Some of the stories are based on real things, but I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And then Rylie says that their doctor's prescriptive surgery. I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's prescriptive surgery instead of
Mind you
selective.
also that medical history is also not the best.
No,
True.
no.
There's a lot of questionable things. I mean, personally, I would love to have a lobotomy sometime. But will they just give me one on out of nowhere? Probably not. Um,
You'd be an episode for criminal.
There's a YouTuber and podcaster that I like. His name's Simon Whistler, and I listen to his show, the Casual Criminalist. It's a really fun show if you guys like true crime stuff. But he has a saying that he says over and over again: "It's the past was the worst," and so fucking true. So
Oh, yeah.
fucking true. One last note on the gatekeeping for the trans community. Um, you don't have to get surgeries. Never let
yes.
someone tell you, like, there are many trans people that are perfectly, as you said, perfectly happy with the parts that you have. There's some of us like myself I have a lot of dysphoria around that. So I'm getting my outie turned into an innie here soon. But other people, everything is valid. Everything's
Yes,
valid.
you're human.
Mhm.
Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And we touched on what Rylie had talked about, the surgery. Don't ask, and again, don't assume. But another thing I want to kind of touch on is mental health. As an ally, I check on my friends. How are you doing? Just to let them know, hey, I'm here. And Rylie, if you haven't figured out on Discord or I don't know if we're LinkedIn buddies or not, but usually I sign out Purple Heart, mom hugs, Purple Heart, because this community is one of the best communities. They're open. They don't, I don't understand the hatred other than, and I say this, I am a faith-based person. Most everybody knows this, but I prescribe to what Jesus taught, which was love your neighbor as yourself, and agape, which is unconditional. If you need me, I'm there. I was trying to Vanessa, I was trying to figure out if I could come help you when you have your surgery, but it's backing up to the same time I'm thinking about moving.
My best friend's flying in, so
Okay. I was gonna
I'm
say, I
good.
was like, can I let me figure out how to do this?
It's like I'm
I
in
was
Ohio. I might be able to help.
I mean, you are welcome to come visit Rylie. So I'm having it done
But
at Cleveland Clinic.
yeah, but
So
I was literally going, okay, how could I do this? Be gone for a couple days. I mean, even if it was just 3 days and somebody else came in,
mhm.
but this helps their mental health, knowing somebody cares. And I always say, check on your friends, because there's already a stigma to mental health, and it doesn't matter where you're at, the stigma is there. But
Yeah.
I feel that it is 1,000 times worse for the LGBTQ community. And so it's like, okay, and that was when all of the stuff about all these anti-trans bills and everything like that, my biggest thing was, oh my gosh, the first people I thought of were my students. When that came out to me, that I taught, I was like, how can you do this to kids? Kids already have fragile mental health. And then I started thinking, and I don't even know how long I've been connected with Tamsyn and Vanessa, but I started seeing them post more and more. And it was like, I need to make sure they're okay too, because this is not okay for my mental health.
Mhm.
I can't imagine the stress of being hated for being human.
I had to take a break from posting. I toned down the frequency of my posts for on the trans side specifically because my therapist thought that I was going too deep in rabbit holes, and that there's enough other voices that if we just balance it out amongst ourselves, we all don't burn out at the same time. And I think that's an important
Yeah.
distinction. Um, because we all have to have capacity for things that happen to everyone. You know, even the tragedy that Liam experienced is a perfect example. We have to have that mental capacity to absorb that stuff. And that's an unbelievable thing to have to deal with on top of this daily barrage of stuff that we have to deal with.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard. Um, I'm I'm in a good place mentally generally these days, which is good. Um, I have my moments. Everyone does,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and but I also know that I am thriving far more than I was before. I didn't even realize that I wasn't before I came out. You know, I'm way better mentally now than I was then, in spite of all this stuff we have to deal with.
Yeah, that seems to be a common theme. If you ask people in the trans community, it's just despite all this bullshit that you're going through, if you had a choice, would you do it again? And we pretty much all say yes. So it's, yeah, that's why the whole detransitioners thing that the conservatives are
Yeah.
pushing, that's all bullshit.
Yeah,
It's like a less than 1% detransition rate, and it's usually mainly due to outside influences. So
Being an empath, it impacts me, and that's why, I said, hey, if you don't hear from me in a couple days, check on me.
yeah,
I can't watch the news anymore
it's too hard.
because it just drains me. And so I pick up things, or I, find if Vanessa or Liam post something, I'll go look at that, or what's her name? Oh my gosh, I can't think of her name on LinkedIn. She does all the posts and sends out the email, and
Aaron?
Erin, thank you.
Yeah.
oh yes,
Yeah,
Yes.
Aaron Reid.
And I'll go and I'll look at what she's talking about. I think, did I say that right? She.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
she,
yeah,
her.
you're right.
I'm sorry. I try to be very conscientious about.
It's
of-
hard.
Good on you
No,
for
it's a
thinking
good,
that.
it's a do.
Yeah,
Amongst all the don'ts, this is a do.
yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
But those are the news stories I follow, because if I try to watch something else, I'm so drained that I'm useless.
Yeah,
And so I cannot imagine the mental stress
Yeah.
of all of this coming at my friends, my family, all the time.
There are so many rabbit holes that you can go down that will
Mhm.
just take everything out of them. So I try to stay out of them as much as I can. But sometimes
it's hard not to.
sometimes Alice falls down the hole.
Yeah,
And you had said something, Tamsyn, that I'm gonna tag off on when you talked about you were talking with your therapist. That's one thing I have noticed in the trans and LGBTQ community, that sometimes you can't get the mental health counselors
Yeah.
because they are either not willing because of their stances, or they can't, or people can't go to them because they charge such exorbitant prices.
mhm,
Many of them are
And
out of network for one,
mhm.
yeah,
and they're overbooked, so you can't get into them. I'm fortunate I got the current therapist I have was a grad student. She's now like pre-licensed. So
Mhm.
I got really lucky because I got to teach her about my experience along the way too. So it's a win-win.
yeah.
She's really
Yeah,
good.
that's amazing.
I love that part of it.
See, and that's something that this whole podcast, meeting everybody and getting to know people, that's made me kind of sit back and go, should I go get my psychology and counseling license and be specific too? Because I have learned so much in the 5 months, not even, well, let's see, 6 episodes, about your lives. And it's like, wow, what else can I do to help? And it's amazing to me how difficult it is to find mental health people who will help in this community. And I'm like, they're human. You're
Yes.
human. You're not figments of imagination. You're not aliens coming down from Neptune, Mars, wherever. Yes,
Or-
you're
Or
flesh and
lizard
bone. And you have the same types of, I don't want to say mental health issues, but you have the same type of things going on that everybody else who is not in that community does.
Yeah. Plus, we have the added bonus of needing therapy letters for the gate kept surgery process.
Exactly.
Not
And it's going to
forget
get
that.
even worse if things keep happening the way they're happening.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right.
That's
And I'll add another layer to it. So most therapists that you do find only have the knowledge and skill set of early transition. So for me, I have that extra layer of, well, I'm a decade into my transition, and the therapist is working with a huge clientele that is only familiar with like, hey, I just wrote you your letter so you can start testosterone or estrogen. And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm well past that.
Yeah. Fortunately,
So
there are plenty of template letters that they can reference to create
Mhm.
the appropriate letter, but you need somebody who knows the space and what you're trying to navigate. And
yeah.
my big thing is, do they know what WPATH is? If they don't know that, that's a non-starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah. I mean, mental health in this country, that's jumping into the gun debate really quick. How they're always like, just a slight little segue. How they're always like, well, we just need mental health. We got no shit we do, but it's next to impossible to get it. Like,
Mhm.
even I love my therapist. I have an amazing therapist. But when I switched insurance, I now have to self-pay, and it's,
Same.
10 times more expensive. And for someone like me without a job, it's, most people can't afford it. And so that's why if you want to get your psychology degree, do it. I think you'd be amazing at it. Absolutely amazing at it.
I do too.
Yeah.
I say
All
I
right. Well, I'm
have
going
a
to start looking.
psychology degree.
There
I'm
you
going to
go.
start looking. Well, I want the license, to be able to do it. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to have to start looking as to what everything I need to do.
It's a very tedious process, I'll say that much. But if it's something you're willing to do, I think you'd be phenomenal at it.
I agree.
Mhm.
I've learned so much observing you in these sessions and just learning
Yeah.
how invested you are in us. And that
It's
speaks volumes to me. Exactly.
You are amazing. I'm so glad that you're with us.
I'm so glad I'm with you because, like I said, I learned so much about y'all. It's amazing, and I'm like, if people would be open-minded,
Yeah,
we'd have a totally different country.
Yeah, we really would.
you're not wrong.
Mm-mm.
No, I mean,
And
and tagging off to what you said about the gun thing, it's not always a mental health thing either. That's
No,
the
it's not.
first thing media throws out, and it's
Yeah.
like, you know what? No, I always go back to it's not because he was having issues with his mom, which has been, so
yes,
much. I think it's just when you're a child and there's a trusted adult that harms you, you know.
Hmm.
Uh, and that was one of my things when I was going through therapy, and I'm still going through. I wanted to find a therapist who knew about and was able to help sexual assault victims. And um, I was molested as a child by a sibling. And so I wanted to find somebody who could help me process all of that. And it's a deep, dark secret, it's because I forced it down. That's why it's the deep, dark secret. It's not really a secret anymore, but I repressed it so much. And so, talking with you and finding out, okay, this would be something that, oh my gosh, they have the same feelings I do in terms of guilt, in terms of, it's a different level, obviously. But I mean, before you came out as your authentic selves, I can't imagine all the feelings that were going on.
Oh yeah,
It's just a couple.
guilt and shame are big ones.
Yeah.
And Vanessa talks about use body dysphoria,
hmm
right? It has to be, again, multiplied phenomenally within the trans community versus just the body shaming of, me wanting to put myself out in a bikini when I haven't had a bikini body since I was like 18.
Yes,
Body's
But
always bikini body
So
ready.
last year,
just
right?
saying.
but see, but it took me a long time to get over that mental block and find now it's like, you know what? I don't care.
Yeah.
I saw somebody post on TikTok, this younger woman saying, okay, all you women over 40 need to stop doing this with your hair. And this older lady, she was in her 60s, came back. She had this phenomenal purple and blue, just gorgeous. And she goes, you don't have the experience or the wisdom, so I'm going to teach you. When you get to a certain age and you don't care what anybody thinks of you, that's when you'll know.
hmm
And it's that mental hurdle that I think everybody has.
Yeah.
And going through and until you have your authentic self, your hurdle seems to be that much higher.
hmm
I mean, am I wrong? I guess is
No,
what I'm
you're
trying
not wrong. We
Yeah.
set the hurdles as high as they go for
We really
ourselves.
do. We do.
Like it's a challenge. It was. It's not anymore. Like I've settled. I'm really good where I'm at. I'm sure Vanessa's pretty good. Rylie as
Yeah.
well. It's like,
Oh yeah.
but getting to this point, you self-inflict so many wounds on yourself, and it's crazy. But it's a lot of self-preservation too.
It is. Rylie, were you talking earlier? I saw your mouth moving, but
Yeah, I was gonna say I did want to tie in one thing that Lisa had said about the the dysmorphia or the dysphoria and whatnot. So just kind of tying it back to one of the things we talked about earlier, not everybody will experience dysphoria either.
right.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
So that's not an exclusive feeling you have to feel to be trans either.
No,
No,
no.
Everybody's journey is different.
Mhm.
And I
That-
think outsiders don't understand that. It's I think Vanessa, I think all three of you touched on it. Everybody's at a different place. None of it is invalid. You're all valid. Your feelings are valid. Your journey is valid. And
Yep.
I think from the outside, I will say that word again, prescriptive thought process. If you're not this, and this, you're not trans. And I'm like, no.
Valid.
And that's
Thanks.
something I will say I have learned being in this group. Because you are all on so many different journeys in your lives, and it's phenomenal watching, because I have so much respect and so much, just I'm in awe of y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. That makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Same.
Yeah, it's wild. Like there's being trans is also just such a huge spectrum too. Like you have the blue and the pink and the white, and the white is what ties everything together. And so we're all just, I wish it was less of a I wish it was more of a gradient and less of a like separate stripes on our flag.
Yeah.
Because
like
Kind of like an
yeah.
ombre.
Yeah.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
because I think that would just fit better. because there's just so many, like, you'll see some people, like, I'm very binary on the femme side. And then you have people just all over the place. And that's part of the beauty of it, is you get to see all these different people. It should be something people are excited about. All these people out and living and being themselves and creating a better world.
I agree. And you definitely make my world better.
Thank you. You make ours better.
Definitely.
I wanted to bring one last comment in from Alex Sharp. And this ties into the medical care that we were talking about. You know, don't ask what type of medical care someone may be going through, or they may not be going through, because that all again ties into what Rylie said. Some people can't afford or don't want to have those medical transitions.
Yep.
It's nobody's business, you know. And before we started filming or taping, Vanessa and Rylie both said, you know, don't ask what's in my pants.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the truth. It's
no one's
nobody's business.
No.
It goes back to the bathroom episode.
Exactly.
I can go.
They're obsessed with our genitals. It's
Yes.
Trust me, when it comes to surgeries and stuff, if a trans person wants you to know that they've had surgeries or are getting surgeries, we're gonna fucking let you know, because that's all we talk about. But
It's expensive.
yeah, on my GoFundMe's, you know. And
Well, and your
yeah,
excitement, Vanessa, when you got your date,
I about shit myself.
I was cheering.
Yeah.
Nobody heard. I'm sure my dogs heard me, and I'm sure my neighbors heard me. But I was cheering when I saw that. It's phenomenal. But you know what? If you weren't going to have it, and you weren't, you know, I'd still love you as you are.
Thank you.
It's
yeah. There's just it is a lot of people are perfectly happy with the equipment they have. So yeah. You don't ask people. Like sometimes within the trans community, like we'll talk about like the hormones we're on, like we'll say, okay, injections or pills, which of you have more luck with, that kind of stuff. And that's more okay within the community, but that's only if you're really discussing that. But you know, you should never just walk up to somebody, and as you said, with the whole bathroom thing is, show me what's in your pants before you can go in this bathroom. And what's in my pants is probably bigger than yours, asshole. So go fuck yourself.
I wish that was the case for me.
Sorry, Rylie. No,
It's
actually,
okay.
it is still the case.
I get to select my size.
There you go. Oops.
It's okay. It's a little secret that I just shared, I guess.
No, that's fine. Now everybody knows.
I wouldn't have known. I'm just gonna sit back and smile and
Or
nod my head.
Smile and nod, smile and nod. It's, I mean, even like within the trans community, like I know many more trans women than I do trans men. So when I start hearing the experiences of trans men, it's also foreign to me too. And I'm just like, oh, but
Yeah.
it's also fun, like hearing like experiences and stuff, especially like stuff that we grew up with in our previous lives, and being able to relate to what they're going through. And I'm like, it's fun. It's wild, but
It's like reverse engineering, Vanessa.
it really is. You're right. It really is.
In both directions.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is crazy. And I think that's why we love to use the term HRT is magic, because it really is. In the end, the human body is really, between male and female, there's really not that much difference.
No.
And like when you come down to all the inner workings. So, and once you switch the hormones over, it's wild what happens. I mean, look at Rylie's beard. I mean, it's amazing. It just like, oh, it's we're changelings or something. So
I'm impressed by his head of hair, personally.
My
It's very shiny.
it's shiny because the light, I think, but
I love a shiny bald head.
Okay,
I
but I am
love
gonna ask, do you shave it too? I mean,
I mean
or
I
is
take
it,
flippers
is
to it.
it, okay,
Yeah, no, I'm pretty thin through here, so this
Mhm.
is it's gonna eventually become a full on what is it, Mr. Clean look probably,
yeah,
um,
so
but
you,
with the
so you got
beard.
you got male pattern baldness as a side effect, right?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, my
Nice.
if it wasn't for the fact that I know it's generally the more like the mother's side, my dad's dad had a full head of hair till the day he died, and I was like, please, 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 please. It was like, nope, not happening.
Oh well.
oh,
No,
that's
I think
funny.
it's
Yeah,
as you
no,
said last
mine,
episode. It's both affirming and not affirming at the same time.
It is. It is.
Sorry, Lisa, I interrupted.
oh no, you're good, because all I was gonna say is, yeah, that's the one thing my two boys have going for them, is that my dad, before he passed away, had a full head of hair, whereas their father, no, he's got that male pattern baldness going, and I just
Oh
I
yeah.
because his grandfather was that way, and I sit and giggle because I'm like, yeah, my kids are we're good. And the only reason my grandfather lost his hair was because of chemo. So, but he was solid white. It was gorgeous.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
believe it.
I think we really need to hit on number 6 and number 8. I think those can be kind of those can
Yes.
be combined, but especially seeing as how pretty much 99.9, but 100%, I should say 100% of all the anti-trans legislation is coming from a right-wing religious extremist.
Yeah.
So there are many religious people within the trans community and religious allies within the trans community. But we also have to recognize that our biggest enemy right now is also religion, which is terrifying. But I mean, I'm hardcore atheist. I mean, you won't find someone more atheist than me probably, but um, it's you hear like these politicians. It happened in Ohio too, at our hearings, but then in Florida where they call us demons and stuff like that. And you hear people say that like it's their strongly held personal religious beliefs and stuff like that. Well, yeah, it's all your fucking head canon. It's all it is. It's not, if you read that book that you so preach from, it doesn't say anything. I don't think it says anything about trans people. And, so that's your own bigotry. And uh, I just, I'll let someone else talk. It's
I was gonna say, I
triggering.
think you were trying to go on the topic about like them trying to turn us back into who we were before,
Yeah.
essentially. They think
Yeah.
that religion will solve everything and if they can convert us back. And it's not, you can't change who we are at our core, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
What they fail to realize is in their short-sighted view of God is God created us the way he created us. I'm agnostic. That's kind of where I'm at. I don't practice religion anymore, but if you believe in God, you know, and you believe God doesn't make mistakes, then this is what he intended us to be. And we just had to follow this journey to get to where we are. And it's like, why can't they see that?
Because they're hung up on Sodom and Gomorrah.
And
And we
genitals.
talked about and genitals.
Yes.
Yes. But I mean, and when we had the transparenting episode, that was something Kaylee,
Luna.
Kayleen.
Kayleen
Kayleen,
and Luna both brought that
Yeah.
into it.
they both brought that up.
Yeah.
And I wholeheartedly agree with them both. And I agree with you, Tamsyn. This is a journey. And I again, I'm spiritual. Um, and I am Christian. However, I'm not that far out person, because even as a Christian, I think I don't know what they're reading from. I don't know what
Yeah.
they're studying. I don't know who's preaching to them, but what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can find that right there in the Old Testament.
Mhm.
Um, and I've never been under a thought process that I'm going to convert somebody back. I'm going to deprogram them. You're not programmed. You're living your authentic life,
Yeah,
just
only-
like they're supposedly doing. I don't think so. And I know Vanessa has said it before, and I have to echo that George Takei said it too.
Okay.
Every time one of these far right conservatives say something, it's an accusation. As an accusation, it's their thought process.
Mhm.
There's something behind
Every
that
time.
that they're hiding.
And they get
Every
caught with it all
time.
the time. But the problem
Yes.
is the Republicans don't care. We
Well,
can't even call them out on it anymore.
no, but look, who just got arrested? Santos?
Yeah.
Santos got
Santos
arrested?
here in New
Oh, yeah.
York.
Oh
He's
yeah.
indicted.
He was
Yes.
indicted, and I'm sitting here going, okay, so is that going to be a good thing?
It's not going to hurt his career.
It's probably not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen with Trump.
No.
It will hurt his career because he's in a district where he will probably not get reelected,
Yeah.
Oh,
but he won't get kicked out of Congress.
But he's a martyr now. So
mhm.
Well, yeah.
But then you have our two what state representatives in Tennessee, Kentucky,
The Justins.
the Justins, and they're having to basically fight for their positions back, which they were rightly elected to.
yeah. Well, same with
I mean,
Zoe in
there's
Montana.
This is not democracy. This
It's
is not
it's a theocracy.
exactly.
To touch on something, Rylie, I believe it was you that said it, my brain sucks, but when they say that their God is omnipotent, omniscient, all knowing, then anyone that believes that has no ability to question anything of anybody else, because if they believe that their God has a plan, then their God has a plan. That's one. I'm going to tangent here for just a quick second. That's one reason I do not understand prayer, because if you think that your God has a plan, then who are you to ask your God to change that plan for your own personal self? So that's one thing that just always blows my mind about prayer is prayer completely erases the religious part of it. I'm not going to get into a tangent on that, but I'm just kind of going along with this is if you think that your God doesn't make mistakes and you think that your God has a plan, then what's your fucking problem with us? We are who your God intended us. Thank you. So I hate religion.
Couldn't
Okay,
tell.
Usa, calm down.
Simmer down. Now simmer down.
It's
gonna be okay.
Vanessa, being on two different ends of that spectrum, I totally respect what you just said, because it's valid.
Yeah, it's
it's
deconstruction.
you made me stop and think about prayer, and for the longest time it was always, okay, this is what I want, especially as a child growing up in the church. This is what I want. Can you help me get it? Now it's my mindset changed. It's your plan, your way. What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and honestly, one of the things I will say, I prayed about, what can I do to help the LGBTQ community? Because I don't believe you created these people as mistakes. What can I do? And this whole, shift into podcast, and I had come to Liam, I emailed Liam and said, I had this idea. What do you think? And this is how Transcending Humanity was born. You took it and ran, which
yeah, because that's what I do. I'm bossy, but
no, and I love it, because I was like, I had no clue how to do any of it. And
I didn't either,
spearheaded
but
it,
that's
I was
what I
like,
do. So
but you problem solved it.
so I just want to touch on what you said there. what Lisa just said about prayer to any religious right that's never going to listen to this. That's how you do it. And she's over there for me. That's how you do it. You're not asking for something. You're asking for advice on how to deal with something. And that's the conversation. It's not selfish, it's selfless. So Lisa, what you're doing, I have so much respect for you. This is now me recording I'm being recorded saying this. I found a Christian that I respect. So that's kind of a big thing for me because you don't see that very often. So thank you for you just opened my eyes to a perspective on that too, where that's how you do it. I love that. Thank you. I'll shut up now.
You're good. No, that's fine. I love you, Vanessa. One of these days we will meet
Yes, we will.
in person. I mean, we've got to plan this somehow.
We do.
Go Transcending Humanity picnic, family picnic.
Question is, where can we go?
New York.
Yeah, New York.
And Tamsyn hasn't left Pennsylvania yet.
That's correct. Not for a few months. I'll be here for a while.
Mm-hmm.
But and that's what Christians should be. They should be selfless.
Yeah.
But they're not. They're self-righteous. At least that's what all of those, and I can't even say they're all far, but that's what so many of the Christians think, oh, I'm being selfless. No, you're not.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not accepting, when you're not following the second greatest commandment ever given, I'm sorry, you're not being Christian.
Mm-hmm.
That's my own personal opinion. If people want to rag on me, go ahead. That's my belief.
I don't know how they can rag on you, because isn't that exactly what you're taught, period? Isn't that what's in your book?
That's yeah.
If you read the book and understand the book, isn't that what the book says?
And you practice agape.
Yeah.
That's the key. And
This sounds like
go ahead.
I was gonna say, this sounds like a topic that might be another episode we could
Yeah.
easily go on.
Oh yeah, I could go. I could go.
On 9:30.
Yeah.
We can go on and on about it, but
yeah.
But no, this again, I have learned so much. I hope our audience has too, and especially people who are on that fence about wanting to be an ally. This is what it's all about.
Yes.
It's that respect, acceptance, common sense thinking before you ask, and it's I know I will probably ask one of y'all a question that I came up with, but I'm not going to do it on the program because I don't think it's anybody else's business. But it's one of those things where think before you ask, or say, hey, can I pull you aside? I feel ignorant. I feel, whatever. But do it one-on-one. Don't do it on a personal platform. Don't do it in a crowd, social media, whatever. Be respectful.
And if you can Google it and not ask us, that's also something.
I was just gonna say that. Yeah.
But the caveat to Google is you can Google it and get the wrong answer.
Yeah, depending on
Yes.
what your search history is like. So go on incognito mode first to get yourself off of whatever.
And don't do it at work.
Okay, my loves. I think that we're at time now.
Yep.
But this, I think, was an absolutely amazing episode. I can't wait to.
Got some pretty good ones.
Yeah, I think we did. So I really hope our listeners find this one educational, enjoyable, a little bit more comedy in this one. Please, 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 if you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform that lets you rate, namely, I think Apple Music is the only one I know that lets you do it.
Spotify does too.
Spotify does too? Okay. Please rate us on those. It helps us get up in the rankings. It helps us push away from the hate and stuff like that. So comment. Well, actually on YouTube, I usually turn off comments on YouTube because obvious reasons. But yeah, because reasons. But yeah, our new website's going to be out very soon. I'm just waiting for the domain to transfer over. So hopefully by the time you're listening to this, it's just transcendinghumanity.com. And it's going to have, you can see all of us. Eventually I have bios on there, but you can access all the episodes both in audio and video form. So I'm really excited to have that up and keep an eye on my socials. Because once that's up and running, I'll be smearing it all over the place because I want people to follow us. I want this to become huge. I want this to be a movement that people can really latch on to. So that's my soapbox. Closing thoughts from you all?
If you're on the fence about being an ally, contact me. I'm on
Yes.
LinkedIn, Lisa R. Magnuson, contact me.
Fabulous ally.
Yes.
Highly
Fabulous. Ally.
recommended. Highly recommended. 5 stars.
And we also
And Fergie's here for support too.
Poppy. We are also always, if you're interested in guest hosting or being a regular host on the show, let us know. It's just transcending.humanity.podcast@gmail.com. And we thank you for pointing this out. We really need some BIPOC representation here. Because as I said last episode, this is a very pale group. We really need some experiences outside of our own.
We're slowly expanding.
Yeah,
It started as
we
a very
are.
trans fem focus, and
Yeah.
we started expanding.
Yeah,
we're
with
getting
you
there.
here, and soon Liam will be on, and so you'll just you'll be building into us, and we're building slowly, but
We're taking the steps.
You
Yeah.
know who'd be a fabulous guest, but they're probably busy with a honeymoon. It's AC folks.
Yes, Dr. AC.
okay, I'll have to look.
He
I
would
don't
be
know.
fabulous.
I probably
But yes.
follow it.
He is on his honeymoon right now.
Okay. I know Dr. Lulu wants to be on, and she's amazing. I'll just sit there. The West African accent, I think, is like the most beautiful accent in the world. So I'm just gonna sit there, just like listening to her. Please keep talking. Please talk.
It's like paying attention, but not fully, just
Yeah.
listening to the accent.
I had a teacher in college. I took a history of West Africa course in college, and the professor, Dr. Akechi, his voice was just, it was musical. It was like unlike anything else. It's just beautiful accent. Whenever I hear that accent, I just absolutely melt. I'm getting goosebumps. Just I digress. So
Transport you back.
yeah, exactly. So
I think that's any female with accents personally.
yeah, true. This was a guy though. So, but
Well, no, but you liking it,
Yeah.
I think as a female,
Oh, yeah.
that is, I could follow somebody around with
Mhm.
Irish or British or Australian or West African, because I
Mhm.
had a professor that was from West Africa also in Texas, but oh yeah, no, I get it.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, well then I guess we can sign out. Anyone else have anything else they want to close with? No? Okay. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been lovely. Episode 6 is over. Next week will be episode 7. We have a plan for it. It's going to be a big plan. I'm hoping that it can work out. So hopefully we'll be able to announce that soon. But thank you for joining us. And we love you. Have a great day, afternoon, evening, whatever you're doing. Bye.
Mom hugs.